So first thing I do is I check out the person's branch so that I'm looking at their code, or I have their code on my machine. Then I look to see the last time that they merged with master, the main branch, yesterday. So I have checked out this branch, ls push notification, ls push notification capacitor. So this is the last commit in the main branch that is included in this branch that I'm going to review. So rather than updating main into this, I'm just going to review the difference between this commit and this commit. Everybody here already knows Git because they was at the Git Learn Tuesday event, which is already on YouTube. But yeah, so I'm just going to do a difference between what I have currently checked out, which is this commit, and this one. My IDE puts the difference here. So these are the files which are different between the commit in main that I just looked at and the current branch. So all of these changes should be in the current. So I'm just going to start with driver dashboard, and I'm just going to talk to myself while I review this code. It looks like Lee has put together the imports from util Firebase and the imports from util Firebase into one import. Great, that's good. Clean up. Generally, I like to keep these imports in alphabetical order, but it doesn't really matter. I see he has also imported a test push, like something new. I'm going to remove these dots. As you can see, none of these other imports have dot in it. They're just annoying and hard to read. So I'm just going to get rid of it. We don't need them because we've configured our app to not fire them. It knows the source, the root directory is valid, and it does everything relative to the root. You don't need to go up and down directories. Okay, so he has added a test that does a push after 5 seconds after this dashboard opens. So I'm just gonna mark this as it needs to be removed after testing, because we don't actually want this to end up in the app. This is just for testing. I think that's why he has put this line. Okay, I know why he changed this. That's fine. It's not really related to the review. That's okay. Okay, so now he's made this file called test push. Okay, so there's two files called test push. One is in the functions directory, so this is code that's going to run on the back end, and one is in the front end. So the file we just looked at, this is a front end file. So the test push that this is using is going to be the front end test push file, which all it looks like it does is it sends the test push to the back end, returns something, but we're not using what it returns, so it doesn't really matter. Yeah, I'm not gonna get too picky about this file because it's only a test file. It's not going to be used in the real code, but I would guess that we don't really care about what this thing returns. Could also just do a return here. You need to have a return necessarily, and I'm not sure why he's got a try catch here. I guess since it's test code, it doesn't really matter if error is not visible to the developer. Probably fine. If they're the developer console, if they're expecting a push and they don't get one. Okay, so next file to review will be this test push, which he is presumably at. I do normally jump around when I'm doing a code review, so I'm just going to do this like a normal code review. Okay, so this, it looks like he's renamed web token to FCM token, which makes sense because the task that he was supposed to do for this card is he was going to make this work outside of the web in a mobile app. So generically, the token is known as a Firebase cloud messaging token, not only a web token. So this rename is a good idea. And this is where he's added the test push. Okay, great. So just looking at the test push code, this is a duplicated code fragment, so we should most likely deduplicate it. And this is missing an await, which is definitely necessary for this, because if this throws an error, the endpoint will still say it was successful, which is not correct. We don't want that. If it's an error, it should not get to this line, and it should instead get to this line. So when we're doing a review, we take note of all of the warnings that our IDE gives us, and we check if they're all ignorable or not. This one is not ignorable because if this has an error, we want it to throw the error and return. Oh, this doesn't return anything. Oh, that's another issue. It should throw something like this. It should be a 500 because a 500 is used for an internal server error, and I don't know what this .end thing is. I guess that's just we have to send something. So I will just send the error to a string. Error to a string. So we'll just send the error. Do any of the developers have any questions about this code change that I just made?
Yeah, I'm curious. How did you know it was going to be a 500 and I don't know what end is, but I guess you don't know what end is either.
I didn't know it was going to be a 500. I'm making it a 500. I know that I know the HTTP error code 500 is used for internal server error.
Okay.
So that's why I've chosen to use 500. So the basic, in summary, HTTP code 200 to 300, 200 to 299 is used for something that's successful. 400 to 499 is used for something that's on the client side is an issue. For this example, it would be like if you try to do a post to this endpoint, that's a client-side error because you should only be doing a get. Here, it's like, well, we don't really know what the error is, but if the error is coming from here, it's probably going to be a 500 error.
And the error to string is
the
error to string is so that it's readable, in string format.
I'm assuming this is going to show up in the body of the response. Which actually, now that I think about it, the test push, this is converting the response to JSON. So whether it returns 200 or 500, it's still going to try and convert it to JSON. So what I should do here is actually not do error to string. I should create a JSON object. I'm going to change it from end to send. And again, I also don't know how send or end works. I'm only guessing based on the way it's used here. So I'm assuming end takes a string and returns that in the body.
Yeah, that's the main difference. And doesn't have a content type.
Send doesn't have a content type, but send takes any type of body. I guess it knows it's JSON.
Yeah.
Is that right? If I give it a JSON object, it knows it's JSON?
Yes.
All right. And then I'll just do error dot toString. So now I return the JSON object that says here's an error and here's what the error is. So at least the test push, it won't cause this thing to throw an error. So that way the error will be returned here and maybe it'll get ignored because that's the way the test code is set up. But at least it won't cause an error here, which will then cause the person to think maybe the client side has an error. So we want to at least make sure that everything's reported as a server side error. Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And then everybody, did you guys understand how and why I flagged this await as missing?
Well, I mean, I understand why it has to be there. Otherwise, it's going to run through the whole code without stopping. So, like you said, it's going to send success without it actually being successful.
That's right. Yeah,
I know that because of the other app that I was working on. I had that same issue in the Firebase for authentication. It kept saying it was successful when it wasn't successful.
And then do you also? Oh, you know what? Actually, I can actually make this similar to this format. I can do status 500 success false. Might as well keep it in a similar format so people know. However, if somebody looks at the network response, they have a few more details. Although the response code is already 500, I'm not sure why it's repeated here. But if it has an error, chances are success is going to be false. Don't know that that's necessary, but that's okay.
I think status 500 is not necessary. We can indicate everything in sand JSON.
No, wait, sorry, you're saying this one is not necessary?
Yeah, because I think resource.send and indicating the status is 500 inside the curly braces, that should be similar to the resource.status 500.
It is. This is doing 200 and 200. It's sending it twice, so I'm sending it twice. Yeah, I don't think it needs to be sent twice, but I don't want to remove it from here. In general, I assume that this function may be used in more places and something may rely on this status instead of using this status. So I'm not going to remove something from here, but I'm happy to add things to here, even if they're redundant.
Actually, I never see a status in a JSON response. It's always in the header,
Yeah, that's right. I mean, you may consider to put a status in the JSON response if you're acting as a proxy, where you're saying, well, my server didn't crash, some other server crashed.
Yeah, that's
very simple to do it, but that's not the case here. So I'm not totally sure what's going on. That's what's happening here. I mean, it would probably be good, like, if this is returning something, this isn't returning anything, but if this was returning something, it would be good that this would be passed up all the way to the response, but it's not, so it's okay. That's fine. Okay, so everybody, last question I have just to make sure is, do people know why this line is necessary other than returning something to the client, other than returning information about the error to the client? Does anybody else know why I've added this?
So that you can see what the error is?
So I can see what the error is, but let's say, all right, maybe I'll just give you the answer because I can't figure out how to ask the question. But the thing is, if you don't put anything here, the server doesn't respond at all. That's the way Express works, is that the server just won't reply at all, and the client will sit there waiting for a reply and never get one.
And there will be a timeout, right?
There will be a timeout. That's right, because the server will sit there waiting for a response to send, waiting for the code to send a response, and it never will.
Yeah, and console log here is just for debugging. So we need to return or sending the
For
response.
the server.
Something.
Yeah, that's right. So this will show up on the server's terminal. Yes. Right.
Yeah, right.
This will show up on the server's terminal, but the client will sit there for a minute, being like, "What's going on?" And I'm waiting. So that was easy. So I saw this warning, and then that required me to look at this code more closely. And I got lucky that I noticed that in this case it doesn't return anything. That's just luck.
And one more thing. The warning was from your IDE, right?
Correct. The warning is from my IDE. Now this warning, normally I see this warning and I think, oh, well, whatever. I don't need to wait for this response. But in this particular case, I do. I do quite often get this warning in my IDE and ignore it. But yeah, generally, if a function returns something, you should do something with what it returns. You shouldn't just throw it away. Yeah. So in this case, it's returning a promise. So probably you need to wait for that promise to finish. So it's not returning data. It's just returning that, yes, I have completed running. If you don't know how promises work, you should go and learn.
I will just try if VS Code has something similar to this functionality, like giving a warning.
So this is okay. It's not ESLint or anything. So yeah, it's not ESLint. So I'm not sure. Have a look at VS Code. Yeah, like it's good to run these things through more than one IDE because they'll catch different things. All right. Now, so the other error is that this entire function is duplicated. All 36 lines of it are duplicated. What I'm gonna do, so this is the test push file, and I know that the duplicate is in index.js, but my IDE will also tell me that it's in it. Yeah, it's in it. I don't know why it's listed index.js twice, but yeah, I don't know why it's listed index.js twice. I don't think it's in two index.js's. Fine. Yeah, it lists it twice. It does a comparison. I can see that they're 100% identical. It's not like a variable is different or something. It's 100% identical. So what I'm going to do is I am going to make another file. I'm going to make another file in the functions directory. Sorry, I'm going to actually make it. So inside of functions, I'm going to make util/push.js, and I'm going to move this function. Not this test push. Where's the other test push? This test push. I'm going to move this function to there. No, not move the file. Oh, all right. Doesn't let me move the function. So, okay. Move it from there to the new file I created. Push. Okay, and then this needs to be exported so that it's used. Yes, it doesn't like my style. Okay. All right. Any questions about that change? What has happened here? Admin's not used anymore. Okay. And then this should. Oh, this is right. This is common.js, not ES6 modules, so we can't use that syntax. So exports.send multiple messages. Does anybody? Yes. Okay. That didn't complain. This is using exports.handle, so this must be exports.send multiple messages. That's how I export something, and then this import will go. Okay, and then I want to do the same thing in index.js. So I want this to use the other. Delete this. Multiple messages. It should have added an import. Yes. Okay, it added the import here. Okay. All right. Any questions about what I did there? I just send multiple messages to a different file to get rid of the warning and deduplicate. That way, if we need to send multiple messages in the future, we'll need to change it in one place. Any other questions on that? No.
No.
Now I've done a fairly big change, so I am going to get a new diff. So that's the file. We've already reviewed it. Skip that. Okay, now so this is the new file I've just made. Since this was existing code, I assume that it has already been reviewed and passed review, although I'm not sure. It seems okay. I probably would return the response from this function or throw an error. I probably would not do it like this. Also, it's a bit weird that this is an asynchronous function, but it doesn't actually use await anywhere. I'm a bit afraid to change this because it's used in other places, but I guess actually, you know what? Let's make this throw an error. So let's just actually, it doesn't need to throw an error itself. I can just make it return this. I'll just do that. So it will this will return, and then the two places that are calling it now, if it has an error, it should end up in this catch. Before it wasn't going to, but now it also returns a response. I have no idea what the response format is, so I'm not going to try to do anything with it. And then the other use was in index.js down here. No, not down here. Here. This.
So you also have to wait it there, right?
I should await it here. So the reason my IDE is not flagging it now is because the other one was an async. It was an async function. So I bet if I change this back to the async function, it's going to flag it again.
But it still returns a promise, so it shouldn't get set.
Yeah, actually now it's not flagging it here. It's a bit weird. I don't know why it's not flagging it here, but it flagged it in the other spot. I'm just gonna test that theory. Oh, that is weird. It flags it here, but it didn't flag it in the other. It doesn't flag it in index.js. I'm not sure why it doesn't flag it here. So because it's not an async function? I don't know if that's going to make a difference. But
yeah.
Okay. It has to be inside an async function for it to flag it. It's a bit weird. I did see that my IDE does know what this returns. It returns a batch response. So I'm just going to see what's in a batch response, so that batch response contains success count, failure count, and responses. And responses contain Boolean, a string, and a Firebase error. The Firebase error contains a 2 JSON. So normally I would say, oh, I can probably just convert this to a JSON because it's an object, but it's an object that contains a function, and then the function itself is not, you can't convert a function to JSON because JSON only represents data. And I could call this function to convert the whole thing, but this would only convert the error. It would not convert everything else above it. So there's no easy way to convert this batch response into what I want. So I'm not gonna do anything with the return. I'm not gonna return the return value over the network to the test push. This one I'm just gonna leave as it is. This one I am gonna do an await here, just so it can.
The function is not async.
The function is not async. Yeah. I'm thinking if I want to make it async, or do I just want to return it? Because if I return here and this throws an exception, then it should still end up in here, I think. I'm not sure. Yeah. I'm not sure. Let's not do what we're not sure about. And let's do it in a way that's easier for the next person to read and follow. And that was the wrong thing to make async.
That was the wrong async. Yeah.
Yeah, that was. Okay. There we go. So now I've made it async. This will wait for this, and then so now if it throws an error, it should for sure end up here. So I'm not here to review this code, so I am not gonna wonder why we're just logging this to the console and not like returning it to something else. This is in a function handler. We can't return it to, we have nothing to return it to anyway. This function is triggered based on a database change. It's not from an HTTP call, so there's no client to return to anyway. Return the error to. So I guess this is fine. Log the error here. Okay, we weren't reviewing that code. Okay, so push. This has been reviewed and we've changed it, even though this code wasn't really under review, but I've changed it anyway. Okay, this index we changed. This we changed. So okay, so this is the web token, the FCM token that was under review. This one we changed. This one we changed. This one was changed to the PR. Okay, this is good. The person updated the documentation. Thank you, Lee. This is app.js. Why is this here? I'm gonna remove the dots to start with. We also have like some sort of defined order that we like to have for our code. So it should be third party, no idea what order this is in. This is in some random order, but at the very least, these two should go together because these are both our code. Generally, I like to put the third party libraries first and then put our code last. So I'm just going to do that and not worry about the fact that CSS is mixed in here. This is our CSS. Okay, I'm not going to touch it. It's not under review. I'll just leave it. Okay, now let's see. Okay, so when the app loads, it wants to register for push notifications, and then we don't want to register for push notifications when the app loads. Is that right? Does anybody know?
I don't know. Pavan, do you know? This is in your area.
I think we only want to register for push notifications when they go active.
Sorry.
Oh, you mean like what we've been doing with local notifications and that?
I think so, because I think this is probably going to trigger. Let me just look at the code. This is the code.
I think we need to keep that code in app.js file. That's for initialization.
Yes, but is this going to ask the user to like, hey, do you want to allow push notifications like as soon as they open the app for the first time before they even log in? I don't think we want that.
Correct. Yes, that's
yeah.
Right.
We don't want that.
So we should do this when they go active. So Okay, and I also don't like that he's got this function that's only used here. So I'm gonna start by inlining this function, which doesn't need to be an async function. I don't know why it was async. And then, okay, this I already know this is going to be refactored in another branch, so I'm not going to worry about that. So I'm going to move this to the header dashboard. Where is the code where we go active? Is that in header dashboard?
Yes, header dashboard. There is a switch on toggle. There's we are toggling, and that should be updating the user and the state of it.
Oh, it updates the user.
Yeah, and which is updating the status in Firestore also.
But where do we ask for like local notification permission and geolocation permission? I thought that would be here in this handler. It's not in this handler. Does anybody know where it is?
Actually, on click of the switch, we are toggling the value of state, and at some other file, we are validating it. Like if the state is true or false, then ask for permission.
Yeah, that's here in driver dashboard. If we're going active, it does this. Oh wait, yeah. Here's handle setup push notification. That's the place to put it. And I'm not sure why he somewhere else. I'm assuming this handle setup push notification is for web only. So okay, so if you go active and you're using capacitor, then it'll set up the capacitor one, otherwise it sets up the web one. Set up push notification. Oh, did the unified API already get merged?
No.
Yeah, no, it's not much yet.
It's not merged yet. Okay, because it looks like he did that here. Set up push notifications, then does handle remote push notification capacitor, which I think is the function that I just dropped in here. So actually, we don't need any of this because handle setup push notification already does it. So
Or maybe he's merged his unified API branch into this branch.
That's not impossible, but no, that has a lot more files changed.
But,
I've already reviewed
yeah.
that one, so it's not there. So maybe he just set this one up in anticipation of the other one, which is fine. That's good.
Yeah.
But this is already calling handle push notification capacitor, so I don't need to wait. I think the code in app.js was probably test code. That's probably what happened. It was probably test code, but he didn't mark it as test code, so I have no idea. I just kind of went and removed it and moved it and did a bunch of stuff. How did this file change? Oh, okay, my ID must have collapsed them together. Okay, Pavan, when you test this, you can test it by going active as the driver.
Okay.
Yeah. You know what? I'm going to put this back where it was because the order is not under review. Okay, but yeah, okay, so I've just removed this test code. If I go back to this shows that nothing has changed. Okay, great. Okay, I'm going to do another comparison again because I've gotten confused what I have changed and what I have not changed. Run through things again. Hopefully quicker the second time. Okay, so now this is I pasted this and then removed it, so the import can be removed. This is remove this after testing. That's fine. It's fine. This is reviewed. I changed this and some of this is reviewed. Yeah. Okay. Types, that's reviewed. Okay. App.js. Okay. This is the only change that's in here now because now that we've removed the test code. I don't know why these are let or why they are global, but I'm guessing I'm going to find out in a second. Okay. So this is the code we just looked at. So he did this and set up push notifications. Great. He made one for Chrome and he made one for capacitor. Fine. Probably fine. Okay, current token, logged it better. Just a trick for you guys. If you find yourself with a log message like this and you're like, hey, I want to know what I want the log to also include the variable name, you can just turn it into an object with shorthand notation and it will log the object. And the object obviously contains a key value pair and the key is the name of the variable. Did people already know this trick? Ooh, I guess not.
Yeah, you told me about it.
I told you about it. Okay, all right. Yeah, it's a neat trick. So rather than having to actually type the word current token,
but one time I was using it and it was not supported because in this case you have put message and I was trying with object and it was giving me some error. I don't know the proper case, but there was some issues with it.
Yeah, I mean, if you stick it in the middle of a string, it's not going to work, right? So like, let's say we had done this, right? This is an object. I'm sorry, this is a string. But then if you, I can think of a good example. If you do this, it's not going to work because it's going to do a string plus an object. That's not going to work. So
actually,
you can log an object directly.
It was very similar to this one, a string plus object. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, string plus object is not going to give you the object value. It's just going to give you object. not useful. This is an easier way so you can get the log with the thing. Of course, if you've got your VS Code snippet set up, then it's not a problem to just retype the whole line. It takes 2 seconds to retype the whole line. My snippet includes the current time. I find that useful when I'm trying to figure out how long something takes. You can just look at those two. Let's see. Okay. Anyway. Okay, this he renamed to FCM token. This is, he uncommented some code, the local notification. Okay, this is good. I think this was commented out because it didn't work on Safari or something.
I don't know. Ended up in main somehow as commented out, and I don't know why. But it's uncommented now.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, this is some new functions he added. I'm going to review that in a second, but now I'm trying to remember. Oh, these are let. That's right. That's what I wanted to know. Why are these let? Okay, so now we get into the meat and potatoes of this MR. Okay, he's checking for the push notifications plugin again, which I think he did before he called it. So I'm not sure why he needed to do it again. I made some. Wait, these are the things that are let? Yes, they are.
Yes.
Why would he? No. So he saves it here when you call this one, and then he uses it in a different function. Right, so that requires you to call this function first before you call this one. I'm going to mark that as a fail. No, I'm not going to mark it as a fail. I'm going to fix it. But I'm just trying to think what to fix it to. It'd be good if we can do this. Oh yeah, we can put this at the top level. Let's put this at the top level. So if people don't know, I don't like let. I like const. I like things to be constant. It helps when you're like, hey, this thing should be initialized first, and this thing should be initialized second. And then you're definitely going to force that to happen. So this can equal this can equal this, and that's fine. And then same for FCM. This can equal this. I think this is going to work. Someone will test it and decide if it works or not. But yeah, this should either give undefined or should give the plugin. Yeah, should be okay. All right, so going back down here. Okay, so now that was this function I was reviewing. Okay, so now it doesn't. Oh, it was setting it up before calling these functions. Okay, these functions aren't exported, so no one else can call it by accident, at least outside of this file, but inside this file, someone might call the wrong function by accident. It's fine. So, well, if this function is only called in one place, I have to ask why it's a function, but that's okay. It's not. There's no reason to inline it. They are two big functions, so it is good to give these functions names so that it's kind of like a comment explaining to you what this function does. Well, this function does a registration to FCM, and this function adds push notification list through. So it's simpler than than adding a comment. Right? Not simpler, but it's better than adding a comment. All right, and yeah, he's made a to-do. This will be he'll deal with the unified APIs later. So I assume he's got register FCM Capacitor and register FCM Chrome. Or he'll do that later when he's doing other browsers. Register FCM Safari. Okay, that's fine. FCM get token. Okay, so this is getting the token from the capacitor plugin. This calls another function. Wait, register. Okay, all right, we'll get to that. Okay, he's just logging the token here, and if there's an error, just logs the error. If there's an error, I think it's not going to make it to it's going to be a bit weird if it does this and then this fails and then he goes and does the rest of the stuff, right? Like, I don't know what the rest of this code does, but I feel like we shouldn't run this code if this fails. So I'm going to change this to const r equals await. R is a terrible name for this variable, by the way.
Yes, it is.
You guys already knew that, but
especially after you just said how a function and that should be explaining what it does, and you're like, oh, just chuck R.
Yeah, I am a little curious what it is because it has token inside of it, even though it's not actually itself. This doesn't. I'd have to look at the. All right. Well, I'm gonna go look at the capacitor documentation, and I'll assume everyone is still looking at my IDE and cannot see me looking at the capacitor documentation.
That is right.
There is no screen.
You have visited these places before.
Yeah, because I was probably explaining to somebody else what they need to do for this card, or a similar card, or who knows what. So was it get token? Was that the function he was calling? Register?
Yeah.
Yes.
Get
get token.
It's FCM get token. Oh, this doesn't have documentation on what it returns, and he probably just copied this FCM.get token. Okay.
Also with an R.
Yeah, well, I mean, he copied it, right? That's why it came from. That's why it has a then cat instead of async await, which is weird because they use async await here. So why don't they use async await down there? It's a bit weird. Get FCM token eventually used from the server. Does it have docs? No, it doesn't have docs. It doesn't have docs, so I have no idea what the return type is. definitions. Maybe this has the type. Get token. There we go. It returns it returns an object that has a token. Okay, I think R must be for registration, so I'm going to call it registration. That's the only thing inside of it is the token. Oh, actually, you know what? We can do destructuring right here. There we go. We don't have to give it a name at all. Is everybody okay with this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. FCM set auto init. I'm okay with this. Like, I mean, I don't know if we need all these log messages. I think it's okay for now. This should be indented for sure. This says r.enabled is auto init enabled. So init enabled. This returns boolean containing enabled. I don't know why he called it r. Did the readme call it r as well? The readme did call it r. It must be for response or result or something then.
But
could be.
It makes sense what you were saying before. It should be explaining what it is, because now we're curious to why is it called R. Like, why is it not an Apple letter?
That's right. Yeah. Well, I'm just gonna skip the R and just call it enabled. Is auto. But this code is not doing anything. It's just checking it. And this should. I'm just gonna await this and just say, well, it should be initialized, and then we don't need to check if it's initialized or not. Just initialize it. Be done with it. Yeah, so if I've made a mistake or I've broken something, it'll get caught in testing. That's the idea of doing testing after a code change.
So is it possible to set auto init to return an error?
It doesn't say.
So maybe we can't be sure if it's enabled or not after the waiting for it. Maybe that's why he added that.
No, he probably just copied and pasted from the README.
Okay.
It has the comments and everything. It's exactly what it says here.
It's literally copy and paste, yeah.
He copied this, added update user, and deleted this. In fact, I'm a little surprised that the auto init didn't come before the get token. I don't know why it doesn't in the documentation, but all right. Next is add push notifications with some capacitor registration token. All right. So this is I'm going to leave this as stub code, even though we're not using the listeners. The only thing the listener is doing is so we don't.
Did you say stub code?
Yes, I did.
I've never heard that term.
I'm trying to think of another example of the word stub used in that context, but it's supposed to be
none of a pencil or a cigarette?
Not any of those. Method stub, like Google knows what I want on the right side, but on the left side it doesn't know what I want. Yeah, I meant a method stub. This is what I meant. This definition of stub. A method stub or simply stub, a piece of code used to stand in for some other programming functionality.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the idea is, the stub code just, checks the temperature and prints if it's hot, and then later it might get changed into something more useful.
There you go.
Yeah, stub is something that doesn't do anything other than declaring itself. Yeah, so I'm kind of happy to leave this, but also like if the notifications are all done, we don't actually need this. Well, the only thing we need at the moment is just to get the token. The rest of this, I guess, we can leave this for these two things. Like we want to know if somebody dismissed the notification. Maybe we'll want to do something at a later date. I'll leave it for now. It's just going to add noise to the output, but I think it's okay. We might use it later. I think it's going to be likely we're going to use one of those later. Register remote push notification. Right. Again, he's used let instead of check permissions. If the permission is prompt, then it will request permission. Oh, that's nice that you can check without forcibly requesting permissions. I'm pretty sure this is going to change in the unified API because we've made separate functions for check and request. So, okay, it's prompt, and if it's not granted, user denied permissions, and then register. Okay, and this is called when we want to register. Yeah, okay, all right. I think I'm okay with these changes. I don't know why this is async if it's not actually doing anything with these though. Just gonna, no wait, yeah, I'll just await. So then whoever's calling this, if they want to await, they can. Oh, and then this warning is here. It's probably like, hey, you're not. Yeah, the promise is ignored. There's a lot of those. They're not under review in this MR. So I'm like, okay, all right. Anybody have any questions or comments about this code in Firebase.js or any of the code we have already reviewed? All right, next file. Okay, he did this so it doesn't crash on Safari WebView. Okay, this is the test push. I think we've already looked at it. It returns something, but it doesn't say what it returns. Not the best. But again, he's done this let thing, and I don't like let, so I'm just gonna make it a return. There's no reason to. I'm just gonna temporary variable. Yeah, just gonna remove the return because it's not helping us anyway. This, at least we know these three have to be strings, so I'll leave that. Okay, and he's changed his. I think we were talking about this earlier today. The
Wait,
VAP
wow,
ID
you have to work.
file is the same as kernel's, and I was like, well, he's going to have to change that to test push notifications, and he did.
And he did, yeah.
I am going to push these changes. Did we add any to-dos? Does anybody know?
I don't remember if you added any to-dos.
I
You were
think
going
to,
then you said.
you added one
Yes.
or two.
Yes, you added.
Remove after testing. Okay, that's fine. Okay. That's fine. Okay, so really all we've done is clean up. So people who know me know I like to start my commit messages with either so or because, explaining why we've made these changes rather than what the changes are, since you can know what the changes are from just looking at the difference in the commit. The reason this is helpful is like if somebody goes to this commit and is like, hey, why did this person add this change? They can look at the commit message and know why it was added. Although now that I think about it, this one actually wasn't to make it cleaner. So these were actually functional changes. So I'm just going to go through and only commit the things that are making it cleaner, and then I'll make a separate commit for the things that are actually functional changes. This was removing a do duplicate. These were functional changes. This was the do duplicate. This is not really that functional. Yeah, I don't want to accidentally create a commit that doesn't build. I mean, I might. It's not the end of the world if I do, but I try not to. So here I'm just saying I'm cleaning up the code. And fewer ID warnings. Some of these I did just to make the ID shut up. Test push. Alright, I will commit that. And then I will make a separate commit for this. So this is cloud messages. I guess technically they're not push notifications. That's the Apple terminology. So if there's an error when sending cloud messages, client knows. Alright, pushed, done, code review complete.
Hey there! If you liked that video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to our YouTube channel and turning on notifications so that you don't miss any of our future videos. Thank you.